So since the Scarlet Witch Deku series just so happens to got literally like 3 votes, I think. I don't actually know the exact number. It just showed percentages, and I was not finna calculate that. But it barely got any votes whatsoever, and it seemed like literally nobody wanted it. And since nobody wanted it, I decided I was gonna do something different. What's up, guys? King Crisis here. Welcome to What If Deku has Cyclops powers. Now, before we start this video, there's going to be some obvious things that I might be changing about Cyclops powers. For those of you guys who do not know this, Cyclops powers aren't laser beams. They are laser beams, but they aren't truly laser beams. You see, Cyclops' eyes are a portal, and when he opens his eyes in order to use his laser vision, it is a portal to an infinite dimension of straight energy. And his beams aren't hot, okay? If he hits you with them, you're not going to be burned. It's more like a brutal, very, very, very powerful punch. And as we know, Cyclops can't control this whatsoever. But we do know that there are some things he can control about it. The only thing Cyclops can't control is when he uses his powers. So every time he opens his eyes, them bitches going off. But there are some things he can control about his power, such as the size of his beams, believe it or not, the density, how powerful he actually strikes, and a couple more things. Cyclops can actually make his laser beams cut through you. Like I said, they hit like a punch, but Cyclops can make his beams so thin and so small that they just rip right through you. Cyclops' laser beams are so powerful, they can literally just cause a straight up explosion. As seen in the X-Men 97 animated series, he literally nuked a building like it was nothing from just opening, like just from his, what's this called? His visor being removed, he blew up that whole fucking building. He can use his lasers to slide around, use his lasers to actually stop himself from falling mid-air. Cyclops has a bunch of like really interesting techniques that I find to be very cool when it comes down to lasers. Cyclops is the leader, well, not really the leader, but the second in command of the X-Men aside from Professor X himself. And Cyclops pretty much leads the team in most of their missions, of course, unless Wolverine takes the spotlight, which happens often because he's the most popular character. But as I'm telling you, Cyclops is the actual leader of the team. With that being said, the story starts off with a 7-year-old Izuku. Izuku has not awakened his quirk, and his father Hasashi isn't the most happy about this. You see, Hasashi had the quirk to create portals, and then within these portals was pure energy. And if Hasashi just so happens to catch either you or something in there, yeah, you're dead. Inko had the ability to spawn eyes, which doesn't seem very interesting, and it kinda isn't. But Inko's quirk is actually very helpful. It makes her the perfect spy, because Inko can spawn eyes anywhere and everywhere. She can see through these eyes everywhere. Also, the eyes that Inko spawned, she can see things in a much slower perspective. Hasashi wanted Izuku to gain his quirk. Inko didn't really care. She honestly, actually, believe it or not, she wanted Izuku to gain Hasashi's quirk. I know I just said she didn't care, but I feel like it would make more sense because her quirk, to Inko, she doesn't view her quirk as useful. And Inko knows that all she could do is spawn eyes, and those eyes can see things. That's about it. But Izuku didn't seem to awaken a quirk, and when it came to the quirk doctor, it was determined that Izuku was quirkless, which broke down Hasashi. And Hasashi, who at this point was a pro hero, he wasn't very high up in the ranks because Hasashi couldn't actually fight, because if Hasashi actually went all out, he would instantly kill whoever it is he's fighting, so Hasashi was very low in ranks. Doesn't mean he wasn't paid good. Bro was paid very freaking good. As a matter of fact, to make things even better for Hasashi, Hasashi is the twin brother of... I'm not gonna lie, I actually forgot her name. But the black hole girl, alright? That's his twin sister. Hey, you know how she got a little blonde Stacy? Like, she got a little blonde streak in her hair. Hasashi's hair, full blonde. Just so he can actually match the thumbnail. And he got one little purple streak. But that's his sister. And she has black hole, and he has a simple, well, he has a portal to an alternate dimension of energy. Eventually, it leads to 7-year-old Izuku being picked on and bullied in school pretty much all of his life. Because his father was a famous pro hero, and though Hasashi didn't have many enemies because he wasn't that popular, he still was a pro hero. And Bakugo and the others are aware of that, so they bullied Deku pretty badly. Hasashi even wanted to move Deku out of schools, but he knows that if he moves Deku into a neighborhood like his, like into like a neighborhood where filthy rich, he'll be bullied even worse. So they actually stayed and remained, taking Izuku to said school. Izuku had guards, but they didn't protect him from Bakugo because he wasn't a real threat. They only protected Deku from like adults or things such as that, but kids Deku's age, they didn't do anything. They let Deku get bullied. Hasashi and Inko are pretty mad at them for that, but there was nothing they could even do. They couldn't even fire him because, well, they're right. Why are they gonna hit on a kid? Eventually, Deku would one day go into the bathroom, and he cries. As he begins to cry, Deku begins to cry no longer out of, like, anger, but now out of pain. Deku begins to feel an intense pain in his hands. And as Deku moved his hands, boom! Explosion. Deku immediately let off an eruption of laser beams. So horrible that bro literally like got lifted up off the ground and slammed through the fucking building. His beams were out of control and he literally like he ripped up like his laser beams literally tore apart a portion of the actual building. And as this happened, he straight up started to destroy the building around him, and Deku begins to scream because he can't stop his lasers. And the people who are watching this, like kids in the school, everyone gets evacuated, or from there Deku's lasers begin to go out of control. And as this happens, they call Izuku's parents immediately, and Hasashi shows up and sees Deku firing off these lasers, and he tells Deku to point them at him. Deku like straight up says, "No, what the fuck?" Hasashi says, just do it! And Deku listens. He pointed the laser at Hasashi. Hasashi will open up a portal. As the portal begins to the lasers begin to go into the portal. But Hasashi begins to realize something. As the lasers are going in the portal, they're shooting right back out of Izuku's eyes. Hasashi knows this because he knows everything that goes in his portals and goes out his portals. And it seems like it's a one-way door. And Hasashi begins to think, wait, is this the same dimension? He would wonder. So Hasashi realizes that his quirk and Izuku's quirk are connected, number one. So pretty much everything that Hasashi has inside of his portals, Izuku laser visions comes out of. Like his lasers come from Hasashi's dimension. Hasashi realizes this pretty quickly because Hasashi, one thing he can do is like catch things with his portals and they're disintegrated. Right? He can't fire beams or anything out of it, but he knows there's energy inside of there. So yeah, because stuff gets disintegrated. And now they're realizing for the first time how this energy spews out, and it spews out of Izuku's eyes. They take Izuku to the hospital immediately. With him being taken to the hospital, they basically force him to close his eyes, which is how they realize that if he closes his eyes, then he isn't using his powers. With Izuku having his eyes closed and his powers isn't being used a majority of the time, well, actually, the time he's in the hospital, they ended up basically taking samples of Izuku's DNA because that's all they could think of. They tell Izuku that, yo, he's dead ass gonna have to be blindfolded. A lot. For the next couple of years, Deku actually remained so. Deku was blindfolded. And after being blindfolded for a few years, they worked on Izuku's glasses, which eventually they finally made successful. They fixed Izuku's glasses. After Deku's glasses were fixed, they ended up giving them to Deku. When this happens, Deku and Hasashi begun to train together, and their training commenced very quickly. Hasashi was proud. Deku has an incredibly powerful quirk, and not only that, it's a combination of his and Inko's. Hasashi also begins to realize that him and Deku low-key could make some combo moves. Think about it. Hasashi can open up portals, and Deku's eyes are connected to the portals. So, what he would do is, he would actually cause Deku to see if he could fire his laser beams into one of Hasashi's portals and fire them out another one. And believe it or not, Deku did so successfully, which led to them actually learning to train together, making up combo moves that they're probably going to use in the near future, but still combo moves nonetheless. With Deku learning these moves and actually practicing these moves a lot, eventually he begins to work on his physical stats, which, believe it or not, all mutants have inherent stat boosts. It isn't anything ridiculous, okay? It's not like My Hero Academia's stat boost where they can jump off buildings and land unscathed without using their quirk. Deku, All Might. But it's still enough, okay? But for Cyclops, it is a very small boost in speed and strength. But with Deku, since he has a quirk and he is in the Myroverse and he's not a mutant, it's a pretty significant stat boost. But he works on his strength more and more and more and more, to the point when we get to the start of the original anime, Deku's like Muriel type strong. And Muriel's like able to punch Nomos and send them niggas flying with one punch. And his quirk is permeation. And he's overpowered. And not like Obito type overpowered, like overpowered, like stupid, like a combination of Obito and All Might. And it makes no freaking sense why he's that strong. He's just that strong. The same logic would apply to Deku, who here, after Deku gained his quirk, and people actually feared Deku, okay, because Deku can't control his quirk. And when he actually utilizes his quirk, he destroys everything around him, which leads to everybody being scared of him, aside from Bakugo. Bakugo actually challenges Deku all of the time, and Deku would always refuse. He can't fully control his quirk. At the point where we are in the anime now, all Deku can do is like open his eyes for about 3 minutes. After those 3 minutes are up, Deku just straight up beams everything around him. So he always has to have the goggles on in order to see, because once he takes them hoes off and them 3 minutes pass, lasers, everybody lasered. Lele. That being said, we're now time skip. Deku ends up walking and he thinks about going underneath a bridge and he sees a girl in there. He kind of just ignores it and he keeps walking, but for some reason something tells him to go back. He don't know why, he just had a weird feeling and it said go back now. And Deku actually turns around and he runs back. Once Deku runs back, he sees this girl. She's being held up by the sludge villain, who begins to try to go inside of her body. Deku would immediately run for it and say, hey, leave her alone. The sludge villain would turn. Who the hell are you? Deku's like, put her down. And sludge villain like, and what the hell are you gonna do about it, you brat? As sludge villain goes forward to shoot his hand towards Deku, Deku would immediately remove his goggles and forcibly activate his lasers. Like I said, he can't control it, y'all. Only 3 minutes. But for the sake of the story, he can spill it out like at will, but he can't stop it. Okay, better yet. He can pretty much cause the lasers to start, but he can't stop them. So, only way he can stop them is if he put the glasses back on. But if you don't put the glasses back on, then whoever's in the sludge is probably gonna die. But I'm just gonna go and tell y'all it's Jiro, because that's the ship of the video. So I'm going to tell y'all now, it's Jiro. Anyways, that being said, Deku proceeds to immediately fire his beams towards the sludge villain, and the sludge villain is thrown back. He begins to get hit by the force of the laser, and he's pushed back very, very far. And sludge villain actually is like starting to like slip away and become like a slimy sludge-like substance. Deku then rushes forward and ends up throwing a punch, which crazily enough creates a shockwave and sends the sludge villain spidering everywhere. Deku from here will pick up Jiro. He looks at her and she just looks into his eyes for like a moment and just gets rizzed. Well, not his eyes, his glasses, and like thinks he's fucking awesome. From here we will time skip. From there, Deku actually ends up taking Jiro's number. They end up meeting All Might for a little moment, and Deku's like, yeah, you're cool, whatever, I don't actually care. And he just walked off. And All Might's like, whoa, he didn't think I was cool. That's new. Guys, this is a part 1, so I want you guys to comment down below if you guys actually want him to get one for all. I mean, I was thinking about doing it, but I was also trying to figure out if I even want him to still have access to like... Actually, you know what? No, I'm probably not gonna. It's up to y'all. Comment down below if you want to get one for all, because I just got an idea, like a really good idea. But it's still up to y'all, entirely up to y'all. So with that being said, let's just keep going. With Deku for the next 10 months, actually talking it up with Jiro, going out on a couple of dates, and training a majority of the time. By the time period we actually cut to the entrance exams, Deku and Jiro are already dating. They are a full-fledged couple, and there is no denying that. Deku and Jiro are extremely close at this point, but we're just gonna time skip on over towards the entrance exams. Now y'all, Deku in his timeline doesn't mutter, okay? He does not mutter whatsoever. Him and Bakugo aren't necessarily friends, but they aren't necessarily enemies, which leads to them having like a small and very small conversation that lasted only about 2 fucking minutes. But When it's time for President Mike to actually give, props on a 0-pointer, Ida ends up calling out Deku and saying that him and Bakugo over there was talking the entire time and they were being extremely loud and extremely rude. Also, he explains how that there's actually a fourth robot that President Mike is not explaining. And Deku just looks at him and he's like, what? You heard me. You guys were interrupting us. We could not focus. Deku's like, did I bother anyone else? And he just blankly says it out loud and no one actually speaks. Oh, I didn't bother anyone else. He then looks towards Ida. Listen, I don't know if you noticed or not, but the fourth robot is a 0-pointer. It's an obstacle. We're supposed to escape it. We're not supposed to try to fight it because it isn't worth any points and it's dangerous. It's much more dangerous than every other robot. And in case you're wondering, I am taking this seriously. We had a 2-minute conversation and it's when we first got in the building before the test even started, Deku said. You're trying to call me out and yet you're not even stating a fact. Next time you actually try calling someone out, the least you can do is state some type of fact. Deku says it blankly. Leave me alone. And as soon as he says this, Ida just goes silent. Which leads to Deku Deku actually going forward and trying to get towards the gate. But Ida grabs onto Deku's like, I know what you're planning on doing. And Deku just looks at him, and this time he's actually looking at him pretty crazy. In case y'all don't know, Cyclops got a little attitude. Deku's gonna have a little attitude. He looks at him like, back up. Why are you back up? Deku just actually pushes Ida off of him. And he says very plain and simple. Look, I don't know who you are, what your problem is. I'm gonna make it very, very, very clear. Do not fuck with me. If you don't fuck with me, I won't hurt you. Simple. Ida hears those words like, is that a threat? Are you threatening me? What does it sound like, you idiot? It sounds like a threat to me. Clearly that's what it is. And Ida just kind of stays quiet. And who do you think you are? I'm the son of Havoc, Deku says. Now, my father may not be one of the craziest heroes. Let me make myself clear. If you continue to aggravate me, I will fuck you up. Deku says this, and he just smiles. The gates open up, Deku turns and runs inside. Ida's like, that guy is weird. Now once Deku runs inside, Deku goes forward towards the first 1-pointer that he sees, jumps upwards and punches it. Once Deku punches it, he actually punches right through it. He's pretty surprised because he was expecting a 1-pointer or at least the robots to be stronger than that, but he just punched right through it like it was paper. From here, Deku will catch a punch from a 2-pointer, rip its arm off, immediately spin that like he's holding the arm, he spins the arm and slams it into, what the fuck, I said a 1-pointer? Okay, he just slams it into another fucking point on the robot. I don't know. He slams it he slams the arm into a 3-pointer. And from here, Deku starts blasting every robot that he sees. Deku, like I said, y'all, his physical stats crazy. He's able to he's super duper strong and super duper fast. I know Cyclops probably isn't this strong or this fast. So he's able to keep up and fight against Wolverine and Spider-Man. His punches do damage. Though it may not do incredible damage, it's still damage to those two who are freakishly strong. So Cyclops or Deku is ripping apart the robots and blasting them with his lasers. As he begins to blast them with his lasers, he begins to actually blast them so powerfully that he's actually ripping through them, cutting through them, and just pulling like a Homelander type of vibe. Just walking around calmly blasting his lasers. It all comes down to the point whenever he has to save Ochako, which leads to Deku actually running forward, throwing a rubber off her and picking her up. He looks at the 0-pointer wondering if he could actually destroy it. He's pretty sure he can't, but when he does, he decides to just slow it down. Deku proceeds to go full power and blast out as much of his lasers as he possibly could and end up splitting, like destroying the 0-pointer's legs. Deku literally falls on one knee and he struggles to get up, but he manages to get up. Carrying Ochako, he here would run forward and he would end up giving her to Recovery Girl. From here, we will end off this video. Let me know down below how you guys felt about this video. Guys, this was this probably it's like a series, and I'm finally actually going to do a series again. Here's how I plan on doing it. I might do it 1 week I do a series. I'm probably gonna make the series about 3 to 4 parts. It really depends on how I actually feel like recording, because like typically I record about 2 videos a day, and those 2 videos a day would eventually be combined together into a movie. Alright, so about 4 videos a day, and then I would combine them all into a movie, and then I would post it on like Friday, like on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But since this is a series, I'm gonna post it every day, and depending on how many parts I get, it will depend on how long the movie is. And so yeah, all of next week, well, you know what? I'm posting this on Sunday. I'm posting this on Sunday, but all of the upcoming week, probably all the way up into next Sunday, will be pretty much this video's time. So like probably just gonna be this series, and if I actually finish this off before that, I'm just gonna throw another random movie at y'all, to be completely honest. But let me know down below how you guys felt. Please give me any ideas, more tips, comment any other what if ideas. I've been doing Naruto ways for quite a while now, so this has probably been like my first genuine My Hero Academia video. And honestly, I feel like the way that I'm currently recording is low-key better, because I know I don't have a pause option, and I'm low-key able to focus on the story a lot more. In this video, I didn't even stutter as much as I usually would. I didn't forget things I usually would. So just tell me down below. Like, this video will have a like goal, but I'm gonna say like 10 likes, to be honest. I don't want anything crazy.